Respected friend, thank you so much for your kind invitation and present. Kumar Gautam on behalf of Vishwaneedam Center for Asian Blossoming, Puducherry and Chennai, and Government Arts College, PG College, Hassan. On behalf of all these two institutions and organizations, I welcome you. Actually, I'm stuck in the traffic, so I have to conduct the webinar from the traffic itself. Today, we are very much pleased with the presence of Professor Bula, ma'am, a professor and head of Department of Sociology from Sister Nivedita University. We are also pleased by the presence of Professor Kumar Giri, Dr. Vanitha, Associate Professor from Government Art College, PG Hassan, and all the respected participant viewers, both on Facebook platform and Zoom platform. Let me give a brief introduction to our Swadhyay Sahachakra. Swadhyay Sahachakra is a circle of self and mutual studies. It is an initiative of studying and learning together self, culture, societies, and the world. Friends associated with this are eager to walk and mediate with new horizons of thinking and new movements of social and cultural change at work in our contemporary world. We study seekers such as Sri Aurobindo, Mahatma Gandhi, Chittaranjan Das, a creative thinker from Orissa, and many others from around the world. We also present our own writings and reflect upon our creativity together. We also invite seekers from different fields of life to share us with their life's vision, sadhana, and a struggle for creating a world of beauty, dignity, and dialogue. We are nurturing this dialogue with support of many institutions and organizations. Today is a very important day, and today is a very important topic as suggested by Bula Madam herself. You know, caste is a very important issue for, at least for Indian sociology. And Max Muller once says, caste cannot be abolished in India, and to attempt it would be one of the most hazardous operation that was ever performed in political body. As a religious institution, caste will die, but as a social institution, it will live and improve. We have whole understanding, colonial understanding of caste system. We have variety of thinker from Nispel to Risley to Nicholas Dix to Dumont. You know, they all talked about caste. We have to also understand their Gnostics perspective or Orientalist perspective about caste, which is very, very problematic. So first, I would like to invite Dr. Vanitha to give introductory speech, and then we'll invite our distinguished speaker, Professor Bula, and Dr. Anant Kumar Giri. So first, I would like to invite Professor Vanitha, ma'am, to kindly share something about this webinar.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Vanitha, Associate Professor in the Department of Government Arts, Commerce, and Postgraduate College, Autonomous Hassan. So I would like to welcome all of you, YouTube live streaming as well as Facebook viewers and our respected speakers for this wonderful session, Is Caste as an Orientalistic Construct? The respected principal of our college, Professor Palaksh sir, Government Arts, Commerce, and Postgraduate College, Autonomous Hassan. So I would like to welcome Professor Palaksh sir for this wonderful session. Welcome you, sir. Palaksh sir, can you hear me?
Yes, madam.
Yes. Welcome you, sir.
Yes.
Yes. I also take this opportunity to welcome our chief speaker of the day, Professor Bula ma'am, HOD of Sociology Department, Sister Nivedita University, Kolkata, India. A hearty welcome to you, ma'am. Ma'am?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. I also welcome another speaker of the day, Professor Kumar Giri, Professor of Madras Institute of Development Studies, Chennai. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome you, sir.
Dhanyavadam.
Thank you, sir. So I also take up this opportunity to welcome moderator of this session, Randhir Kumar Gautam, Executive Co-Nurturer of Vishwaneedam, Center for Asia Blossom, Puducherry, Chennai. A hearty welcome to you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So I also welcome all the viewers, Facebook Live as well as YouTube live streaming for this wonderful session. Today's topic is caste as an Orientalistic construct. I welcome our principal, our faculty, and the chief speaker of the day, Professor Bula ma'am, Ananta Giri sir, and moderator Randhir Kumar sir, and all the viewers from India and across India. A hearty welcome to our session lecture series number 2. Welcome all of you. This is a seminar we are collaborating with the Vishwaneedam, that is in Puducherry and Chennai, as well as Government Arts, Commerce and Postgraduate College, Autonomous Hassan. A hearty welcome to all of you. Hope you have a wonderful session. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I'll hand over this session to Randhir Kumar Gautam. Please.
Yes. So first, I would like to invite our chief guest to please share his view in 5 to.
Yeah, Palaksha sir.
Good evening, everyone, respected speakers and audience. Vishwaneedam Center for Asian Blossoming for Puducherry, Chennai, in collaboration with Govt Arts, Commerce and PG College, Autonomous Hassan. Karnataka has jointly organized an international webinar on the topic is Caste and Orientalist Construct. Our college is committed to empower rural youth through graduation, post-graduation and prepares them for placement and higher education. Our institution is dedicated to fulfill the needs of the society by imparting quality teaching through reputed staff, consistent in teaching and learning. Our college has a fully equipped library, learning resources and supporting endeavors to encourage the rural youth to develop skills required for the present day scenario. Our institution has undertaken various field-based programs to address issues related to health, sanitation and environmental protection. The Department of Sociology is an active participant in all the activities of the college, be it curricular or extracurricular. They have taken up social responsibility by organizing a number of activities related to social initiatives. Today's topic is Caste and Orientalist Construct in collaboration with Vishwaneedam Center for Asian Blossoming, Puducherry, Chennai also shows about our interest and commitment to social issues. I wish all the speakers, viewers and organizers an eventful session. My best wishes as the principal of the college. Thank you everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, sir, for your
so
inaugural speech.
Now, to our speaker, Professor Bula does not need any introduction. She is alumnus of Residency College and University of Kolkata. She had a PhD from Madras University, Canada, and Sociology more than 35 years. At present, she is professor and head of Department of Sociology, nurturing a student at Sister Nivedita University, Kolkata. She has been visiting faculty in several important universities in India and abroad. Memorial Gold Medal. She has a specialization of gender studies and child studies. With this brief introduction, I think on the very topic. Yes, ma'am.
Should I start?
Yes, please start.
Please, ma'am.
audible to everybody, I believe. Okay. The topic for the discussion today is caste and Orientalist construct. Let me start with, I don't want to share this take more time. So I will just, discuss in terms of the published paper of mine, which Randhir Gautam had. The talk I can also give to you. My first section of the, or the subsection of the presentation is, the nomenclature is caste, caste and caste. I will read a little bit from two very important scholars, what they thought about caste. If there was one social institution that to the colonial mind centrally and socially characterized Indian society as radically different from Western society, it was the institution of caste. This was Partho Chatterjee, the famous social scientist, in 1995. Nicholas B. Darts, who works on caste, actually in a sort of a very critical way. In 2001, he wrote in Comparative Sociology and in Common Parlance alike, caste has become a central symbol for India. This was Nicholas B. Darts in 2001. Now I'm going to read a narrative by a very famous Indian sociologist, Andre Bhadra. This is a narrative from Andre Bhadra. There is a noise coming from somewhere. When a student of Indian society and culture goes to such an American university, no matter whether he is a sociologist or an anthropologist in India, he is presented there as an anthropologist and not a sociologist. The established opinion in America and its universities, and to a large extent European universities, is that the study of Indian society and of other Asian or African society is the province of anthropology and not sociology. So this was Bhadra's somewhat saddened narrative after he visited North American universities in the late 80s and mid 80s. Actually, I was there in North America in one of his lectures in University of Toronto in 1985-86. This is an important remark to be remembered, which we will be discussing in relation to this kind of position on the part of the European and American scholars on India and globally as such interested in so-called developing former colonized countries. Now, Veena Dash, who is at the moment in Columbia as a professor emeritus, she wrote in 1995 that what is unique about anthropology as a discipline is the use of its other to overcome the limits of its origin and location. Let me now go to the fact of the matter and tell you why I'm bringing in colonial anthropology and the concept of other and the discussion of caste. I mean, that is the sort of preparing bedrock ground. Okay. Meenakshi Thapan, while taking stock of the scope, she is a professor in Delhi University, scope and character of Indian sociology, published in the journal Contribution to Indian Sociology, wrote in no uncertain terms that there is remarkable thematic continuity between old and the new series of Contribution to Indian Sociology. By the way, its first editor was Louis Dupont and David Popper. In terms of substantive articles, as the good old issues of caste, kinship, and religion dominated the other themes. This was 1988. Satish Das Deshpande, another social scientist of repute, echoed similar opinion when he wrote in 2001 that the present sociological discourses about Indian society are still dominated by and large by the notion of caste, which in turn create disciplinary predicaments for Indian sociology. Here, actually, Satish Deshpande adds one factor, that is disciplinary predicaments for Indian sociology. In 2012, even in 2012, Surinder Jyotka writes, who supports caste in his own way, and it's better to say that way, that the subject of caste has been a staple in the course of society and cultures of India, taught in the sociology departments of colleges and universities across the country. In fact, Lona Nindel, who actually told us what we didn't know as Indians, so aptly remarked that India was consistently represented as radically different from the societies of Europe, an essentially static society of which caste was the defining social institution. Analysts starting with Max Weber, analysts on caste starting with Max Weber and Celestian Bowie, via the British colonial censuses of 19th century and little bit earlier than that also, reaching its pinnacle of analysis.
Water cooler. Water cooler level.
Can I ask the participants to mute themselves so that we can continue with this without being delayed? Louis Dumont, who died in 1988.
Madam, please unmute yourself.
Unmute, madam, unmute.
Have you not been able to hear anything?
No, madam, you are audible. Now you are audible.
No, I'm saying, have you heard anything or I was muted?
No, we have heard. We have heard.
Okay. Because it is not understandable what is happening. Noise on the part of some of the participants. Its pinnacle with Louis Dumont's theory of caste indubitably conferred this impression that the concept of caste has been at the center in understanding and explaining Indian society for about 1.5 centuries. Thus, caste has been omnipresent, and if one wants to understand India, the best shortcut was to understand caste. Now, this was the understanding, and this is the understanding which is still the dominant framework. I'm now about to discuss the dominant framework, some other parts, my subsection 2 of the paper, and try to figure out why this impression has been continuing in India, in independent India, in full vigor, without changing much. A little bit of criticism here and there. One first point, I will come later on that, but I just want to mention this. Those who support caste has hardly defined the particular word, its etymological roots, its actual meaning, and forgot to say that it is not an Indian word. So my subsection 2 is colonial anthropology plus Orientalism equals the creation of Oriental other. As a discipline born with the patronage and sponsorship of colonial administration, anthropology's survival has depended on the idea that there are other cultures with differences, mostly negative, and that they can be studied. Anthropology's assumed ability, that is to say colonial anthropology's assumed ability to thoroughly study cultures unlike their own, has made anthropology the study of human other. It's a logical corollary of the discovery of the primitive, that is un- or non-civilized human beings as opposed to the civilized ones. Historically viewed, the development of the Enlightenment worldview, the growth of scientific reasoning, the rise of evolutionary thinking, and most importantly, the rise of colonialism are closely associated with the appearance and usage of the notions of other and otherness, the favorite knowledge categories of the classical colonial anthropological discourse. Thus, there is a plethora of human other which appears in colonial anthropology. Thus, there is a situation which creates consequentially a number of negative stereotypes of the other emerged. This stereotype dualism is clearly reflected in Eurocentric binary oppositions like the white-black, men-women, passive, active, rational, irrational. I can give the reference of women who worked on this and have huge tables. It might be with modesty and humility, say that we should read other materials which actually criticizes caste and try to understand why they do, instead of riding the same bicycle of caste over and over again. Edward Swade has shown that Orientalism is a discourse about the Orient as the other of Europe, which by all means confirms Europe's superior position, in spite of all its refined pluralities. Since in Orientalism, Orient is always a tableau of fairness, there is nothing about Orientalism that is neutral or objective. By definition, it is a partial and partisan objective. So with the rise of particularly of colonial capitalism and contact with other cultures, a specific pattern of thought and language, a system of representations emerged underpinned by the discourse of the West and the rest, where the West becomes synonymous with the developed, civilized and normal, in contrast to the non-West, which was perceived as underdeveloped, primitive, and probably deviant. This essentialist identity of West was then formed not only through its perceived sense of difference from the other cultures, but also by its perceived sense of superiority to this kind of Eurocentrism. The perception of almost everything European as normal, natural, and ideal to be followed, of course, in the high-bound heyday of colonial capitalism, became crystallized into the common sense of other cultures, like us. Accordingly, in a profound sense, the other is not a concept, not a name of the, for something or someone. It doesn't name an object. It is used as an indicator towards that which is noticeable only by its absence. In the light of this, these presentation interrogates the articulation of the concept of caste by digging its origin, pathways, and good fortune it enjoyed since its birth. Now, my other subsection starts with the critical one. From other to parenting and nurturing of the caste as a concept for understanding Indian society, be it colonial, pre-colonial, or post-colonial. Now, to begin with, the first question we can ask before everything else, that what can be said about the very word caste? To begin with, we can probably try to locate its original birthplace, its etymological root, as I said a few minutes before. The Portuguese seafarers who trained mainly on the west coast of India in the 16th and 17th centuries described the groups they called castas, from which derived the English and French word caste, meaning species or breeds of animals or plants and tribes, races, clans or lineages among men. Now, this is taken from Marriott and England, 1985, who were the first group of Chicago sociologists, along with Barnett Cohn, who actually pointed out what the caste came from, where the word caste came from. Before that, nobody really discussed about caste's etymological roots and its historical transformation. 2 points are in order here. First, the word caste, which has captivated and captured so much of our sociological imagination, is not to begin with an Indian word. And to be sure, it is rather an European invention. Portugal is still within Europe. Secondly, castes are in a basic way unlike as species are. That is to say, jati or caste or sampas, whatever way merely we want to translate, can be species in a geological or botanical sense, as Marriott and Indian pointed out, and later on other researchers like Dept from England also pointed out. The onerous responsibility of popularizing and stabilizing the word in the Indian psyche, of course, was borne by Max Weber with the necessary help from the British colonial administrators and so-called colonial anthropologists come administrators. One of the most important names, Henry Maine, who was also University of Calcutta's Vice Chancellor, and some other administrators who were actually posted in different parts of India, including Bengal. So Weber's sole source on caste in India was in fact the British Indian census of 1901 and 1911. If anybody reads Religion of India, either in English or in German, see that Weber has no other reference but these two censuses. Weber, as he was very fond of the British colonialism, like Marx, so the official view was, actually impacted him to write a book on religion in India as compared to also religion of China. So as far as the British official view was concerned, Bernard Home, the first who actually criticized this Orientalist and colonialist view, provides us an excellent testimony of the official British view of caste, which was very much linked to how British gathered an information about the caste system. I just want to pause and give one very critical example. This is generally considered in feminist literature that men, not all men, men actually, it is the patriarchy, not men really, but men as part of patriarchy, generally, gathers information about women, like say women do not understand, did not understand mathematics, did not understand engineering, could not fly airplanes, or could not fight in the war, which have all by now proven, thankfully, completely fallacious. So the way you collect information, that means the method of data collection, is actually the real key to the Oriental and Occidental heaven, both. So for British, in the first instance, the caste was a thing, an entity, which was concrete and measurable. Above all, it had definable characteristics: endogamy, commensality rules, fixed occupation, common ritual practices, regarded as the popular three-line theory of caste. And if you look in the European history, you will find this also there, but we don't read European history and never dare to talk about it. So these, by the way, the things which supposedly one could discover by sending assistants into the field with a questionnaire which could be considered authentic enough for reports and surveys, along with a translator who knows the indigenous language, most probably, and English half and half, for which Warren Hastings' Gentoo Code was cancelled because it had such poor translation. So alternatively, one could learn about the caste of a particular district by sitting on one's horse or in the shade of the village banyan tree as the adjunct of one's official views. Thus, the recorded facts could be collated to pigeonholes like the Luthers, the Akis, the Santals, the Bengalis, the Biharis, etc., etc. So this could go on infinitely at the British administration. The British administration had the satisfaction or the illusion of knowing the people of India. The 1901 census of Bengal found over 205 castes and 2,000 odd castes in India. No doubt India was thus now seen as a collection of castes. The particular picture was different taken given time and place, but India was the sum of its parts, and the parts were castes. This grossly empiricist and simplistic view of the so-called caste system of India nicely fitted into Weber's problematic and was further accentuated one-sidedly through conformity with his own methodological prerequisites. Now, as the British were concerned with the classification of caste under the census of 1901, was based on social precedents, because apparently it was so recognized by the native public opinion at the present day, and because the particular caste was supposed to be the modern representative of one or the other caste of the theoretical Hindu system. I don't want to repeat what I said earlier, that the word Hindu again, just to be very brief, it's not a nuclear word. Those who lived on the bank of Indus were known as Hindus because first Iran, then Greeks. Neither of the groups can pronounce Shinku, the river, actually. Greeks thought it was Indus, so we are India. And Iran thought we are Hindus, so it's Hindu, not Shindu, because they had trouble in pronouncing it. And we do not have a religion called Hindu because it's common sense, don't need to study sociology at all, that there is no god of being Hindu in our 33 crores of Mela gods. So Hinduism does not belong to any god named Hindu, like Christianity to Christ and Muhammad to Islam, Buddha to Buddhist, and others. I don't want to go into Hinduism on this or one, maybe another day. Let me concentrate on the caste. They are the same body, anthropological, Orientalist, others. These procedure, clearly making caste as of central importance, was unfortunately adopted. This was despite the fact that if a person was asked to identify his caste, he would invariably have referred to anything from his occupation to some titular designation he might have had. Now, this is an interesting point we now have come to, that interestingly, actually, what we are trying to tell you, I'm trying to shorten it. Randhir, how much time I have?
Madam, you have 10 minutes. Yes, 10 minutes.
If I have 10 minutes, then let me stop now because it's not, no, I can't ever
You
finish.
you can take 10 to 15 minutes, madam. No problem, because the talk is very interesting and very insightful.
When did I start?
15 minutes.
It would be difficult because this is not a possibility, but I'll try. That's why I'm trying to skip. Now let me just go to the how British did this.
Yes. Now you can.
It's okay. I'll try by 15 to 20 minutes at the moment.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So it may be doubted that how we actually see British organizing the past. Let it come from them, their representative, James Carr, the principal of Hindu College, Presidency College now, or Presidency University now, wrote in 1865 that caste was clearly conducive to the existence of British interest. It may be doubted if the existence of caste is on the whole unfavorable to the permanence of her rule. It may even be considered favorable to it, provided we act with prudence and forbearance. Its spirit is opposed to the national unity. Now, Mr. Middleton, and this is important because they are the caste for census operation people. One of the two superintendents of census operation of 1921 for the province of Punjab later pointed out the effects of British colonial rule on the revival and constitution of caste theory. He wrote that the classification of occupational castes were largely manufactured by and almost entirely preserved by the British government. This is Middleton, remember, one of the caste census operation. He categorically stated that the British had records, that the British land records and official documents were responsible in suspending the rigidity of the caste. Meaning, British actually, you know, the particular word would be British actually played with the documents of India, which they thought will be conducive to them. They showed that. So there is another view. I'm just going to read it in Caste and Race in India by T.S. Giri, a famous classic. So the number of castes fell from 3,208 in 1871 to 9,044 in 1881, a clear indication of a difference in method rather than the growth of castes. The point I tried to make is that it is the particular methodology where the British pigeonholed one by caste, and if he could not find a true caste for them, labeled them with the name of a hereditary occupation. On the one hand, we deplored the caste system and its effect on social and economic problems, but we are largely responsible for the system we deplored. This is quoted in Giri, also another commissioner of the caste census. So its obvious consequences was the successful creation of caste as the other, which nobody could locate anywhere in Europe, or for that matter, in the whole of the West. So the additional bonus was also the part of a plethora of human others, which colonial anthropological purpose. Through numerous castes, subcastes, scheduled tribes, now we have other backward classes, Dalits, etc. There is no one group is eliminated from this or not included. Four people. The 1901 census of Bengal, along with 2,500 castes, was able to discover 450 groups from 1 to 22,000. Half of them did not have over 1,000 members. This is Bernard Holmes' research. You can all check this. These are now available in India quite a bit in terms of books, etc. So the situation boils down to the fact that although there were as many castes as there are individuals, Louis MacIver, the Madras Census Commissioner for 1881, noted about the difficulties in caste elimination. So we had caste, sect, locality, everything within the caste. And the members admitted degraded and depressed caste, such as Shudras, think or profess to think that his caste is better than the neighbors. Wealth means social preeminence in India in 1881, nearly as much as it does in England. Now, these people are British people, it's not either. They were not probably taught this much that how much lies they will make up. So it is a problem for now, for us also, that we want to believe them, but they are, on the one hand, a bunch of not telling truth. So various ambitious castes, as Gray and Barnett Home tells us, quickly perceive the chances of their raising status. They invited conferences of their members, formed councils to accept, to see that their statuses were recorded, etc. So thus a campaign of mutual recrimination was set afoot. The total result has been a livening of caste spirit. This is Bula. Accordingly, one caste was the other to another caste, and so on. India can now be successfully analyzed to innumerable castes, and it's varied, and each one is based on some imagined and authentically imagined difference. The reverse image of enlightenment and modernity is now in full existence in the form of ignoble savage. Interestingly, the reaction to the official colonial view of caste evoked serious responses and reactions from the historians. I don't want to start with historians. I'd like to start with our great sociologist, Srinivas and a few others in 1965 that waiver source materials were census and report with provided data that were superficial and occasionally not quite accurate. Mildest criticism. As far as Weber himself was concerned, his theoretical interests and kind of data led him to view caste all India items, and he did not realize association with the caste was a highly localized phenomenon. So here is M.N. Srinivas in 1959 along with a group of sociologists saying that caste is not a national phenomenon. Even if we accept it, it is a localized phenomenon. Now, incidentally, Srinivas, though highly critical of the Bugwe of caste, unfortunately did not take up the challenge of combating the jaundiced colonial official Bugwe of caste because he was the student or doctoral student of, we all know, in England, of course. So Marxist sociologists like A.R. Desai and others never really took up the critical examination of the aforementioned official colonial view of caste or any other methodological and theoretical problem associated with the concept of caste. In this case, the Marxists and non-Marxists, rather Weberians and Marxists, were on the same boat and still are. So in fact, it was only Dipankar Gupta, I don't know what you call Dipankar Gupta, who took upon himself the onerous duty of at least confronting the multi-and variety of caste analysis systematically, other than, of course, Andre Bete, who sharply criticized too. But Andre Bete also did not take actually the detailed analysis of any Dumont or any other person in terms of criticism. In fact, what happened in the end, which even they had to say in one of his articles, 2012, the peculiar tenacity of caste, the name of the article, he wrote that the disproportionate attention paid to caste has deprived attention to other major sources of inequality. But even though caste is losing strength in contemporary India, media attention to caste, especially in daily political life, has increased and lost sight of long-term changes in the changing nature of caste. And Indian media is one of the worst media in the world. So we will not discuss that, but Indian media does that. Sensationalize individual incidents and never had mostly in-depth studies on the changes of the social phenomenon or anything else. So in fact, it is more now realistic to say that there are probably as many hierarchies as there are castes in India. This is the Dipankar Gupta in 2001. And let me quickly go to the what I call this is the last subsection of the presentation, the pell-mell of caste, Varno, and Jati. Let me now just quickly focus on the meanings of and usage of caste, Varno, and Jati. Caste and subcaste have been generally used as English synonym for both Varno and Jati. The basic idea of Varno was function and not part. Those who know how to read the early Indian resources, probably in the original languages, would do better. The basic idea of Varna was told there. And in this case, I would support the bringing up of Sanskrit, introducing Sanskrit in Indian schools. It is no harm to read your own country's materials in the original language. Each Varna is supposed to perform a specific function. For some, Varna signifies the first place of division of labor. Jati, on the other hand, is generally defined by birth. Now, here comes the hilarious position. But it is possible to choose whether one's Jati refers to more or less inclusive group, as this is going to depend on context. In one context, one's Jati is one's lineage. In another, it may be all the lineages between one and intermarried. In yet another, it may refer to those whose common ethnic or cultural heritage sets them apart from neighbors. Jati, in essence, is a relative term. This is supported by Dept, Madras, and some others. So, what is the meaning of Jati? The Indo-European verbal root meaning genesis, origin, or path. It could be applying to the species of living things, including gods and humans, etc. So, Jati could be a distinct sex, Nari, a race, a caste, tribe, a population, and the followers of an occupation or religion or a nation. So this is a problematic matter in terms of keeping Jati as sub-custom. Now, what I would say that we can give some example of rare uses of Jati by saying that Jati could be Manav Jati, humanity. To Caste Jati, a particular mixed community where originally Caste means in Sanskrit, or from Nari Jati women folk to Bihari Jati people from Bihar, Bengali Jati people from Bengali, or even Tukur Jati, the dogs. So this is simply a problematic matter which Jati he wants to refer to, and you often lead to substantial bewilderment even among them who are aware that Jati is a relative term. And in criticizing attempts to equate Varna with caste, Srinivas wrote the following quite forcefully about a half a century back. Actually, we don't read, forgive me for saying this, but if we read properly even Srinivas, we would have known that how Srinivas hated the translation of Varna as caste. The Varna model, Srinivas writes, has produced a wrong, distorted view of caste. It is necessary for the sociologist to free himself from the hold of the Varna model if he wishes to understand caste system. This is 1952, Srinivas shows. I wasn't born in that. So according to Dept, Srinivas's impressions in the Varna model was a response to the dominance in Indian writing about society of what he called the Putri, which he was eager to replace with a film. In fact, the empirical evidence suggests that a four-border model was a theoretical one. To trace as Nayars, a warrior group, Chettiars, a merchant group, or Shudros. Shaka Shudros were rulers in Gujarat. Another example would be Channas of southern Tamil Nadu, whose traditional occupation was tapping the palmyra tree for its juices to make sugar-rated toddy drink. They declared themselves as Kotrios, and Nadars, meaning lords of the land. So, locally, if you go, as Srinivas suggested, that four-border model, neither you will find. You may find thousands and thousands of function model, and this will create some problems for you. It quickly says, Jatis are immigrating groups. Tribal groups will newly develop trust. So they can be also multiplied. So the point is to set out with the idea that castes are in general bounded groups. With a fixed membership is to embark on a path of endless frustration. That is to say, this increasingly intense problematic dimensions of caste recruit any stable conceptualization of caste. I mean, this Indians have forgotten, rather Indian sociologists have forgotten that they write book on caste. What the hell the caste is, I'm sorry to say. So caste and subcaste are not Varna and Jati. Even in the anthropologized, orientalized fashion of Varna and Jati, they do not correspond either to Varna Jati or Varna model is not an all India model, and Jati is an elastic one which we have seen. So there is endless dispute about which Jati belongs to which Varna and which doesn't. And we have works of Jonathan Perry, we have works of Fuller, and we have works of Hesterman, which unfortunately most of the Indians do not study. Now I have to finish with Dumo, but I can't say much about Dumo. I'll try to, because in my article I almost killed him, I hope. Dumo had a flavor for comparative sociology. So he was dependent obviously on the binary difference between traditional and modern society. For Dumo, the sole objective of comparison is to account for the modern type in terms of traditional type. So for Dumo, then India was the traditional type, so homo hierarchicus. And from Mandeville to Marx, Genesis and Triumph of Economic Ideology, 1977, Louis Dumo, he wrote, I quote, at the end of my book on India, Homo Hierarchicus, I outlined what was to be my next task. It was to consist in reversing the perspective and throwing light on our modern equalitarian type of society by contrasting it with hierarchical society. This might be done in a book called Homo Equalus. It so happens that this society, Indian society, appears in stark contrast regarding its values to the modern type of society. So it was a foreclosure of analysis for Dumo as well as its materials. And we could probably lay a huge sort of criticism, but I would only say that Dhumo was historically, anthropologically, post-colonial, ethically bound to do an analysis only on Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, and that is conjunction between their power, etc., holding to the Brahmanical model. Dhumo didn't discuss two other castes, apparently, which is in the relevant literature. Because if Dhumo did it, then it would be a deep-rooted Brahmanical version of the caste system in academic surgery that really requires empirical jolt to shake it to give it a look. I mean, I would stop with a question and a question or a suggestion rather, I would say, that you can read the Kumar, you can read other people for Dhumo's criticism. After that, you can try to read also my article. My last point, I can have Dhumo while we interact, we do. Two questions. One, caste is not an indigenous word. It is not found in any of the indigenous literature, either in Sanskrit or in Pali. And there has been no census or no counting. Don't think there has been no census in India. There has been on the basis of land records. But no indigenous ruler, whether Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, or Jain, or Shok or Kushan, who are settlers colonies, not like British, uterus colony. So, point is that they have never conducted any census operations on the basis of so-called Varna or Jati. It was done on the basis of land records. It's very well attested by the great Indian historians and also some European historians. Now, the question I finish with, why do we really need the term caste in view of the stark reality that we cannot even give a working definition of caste? Because the theoretical criteria and the actual context vary unlimitedly from village to village, city to city, region to region, and even within a single village neighborhood or community. The last point is, why can't we understand the heterogeneity in terms of some other concept rather than living with an colonial anthropologized Orientalist concept and still tell ourselves that they were better than us in understanding Indian society. So interesting point is that we still talk about reservation in terms of so-called caste, which we cannot define. By the way, for a national understanding, we people talk about reservation in terms of poverty. We never talk about poor people as such. We talk about caste, and caste. And that's an interesting situation after 75 years or 70 years, whether from where you count in terms of independence or republic, that we still are under the hold of very much colonial knowledge. And we are still yet to debunk in a major way the colonial knowledge categories, which most of the other countries, which we do not know but we think they are much superior than in African continent, have done much better than India, because Indian academics still need others to tell that they are good academics. So until and unless they actually show their devotion and loyalty to the colonial problematic and colonial knowledge categories, they are scared that they won't be able to stand on their feet. This shows that our independence still somewhat followed even after 3/4 century. Thank you. I rest my case. I'm sorry that I didn't
Thank
take
you.
more time, but Randhir started late, so I had to cut on Dhumo a little bit. I cut on Dhumo's one leg. I wish I could have his head. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, madam. It was very insightful and very deep presentation, and everybody enjoyed. So, dear and respected friend, now it's time to have some questions answered. So, if you have any question, please let me indicate in the chat box. Please indicate me in the chat box. You can see we are also joined by Professor M. Narayana Swami, sir.
I don't think we have saved them. So.
Yes, Dr. Vanitha, madam, are you there? We got message from Professor Anand Kumar Giri that he is facing severe network issues. So otherwise we are supposed to invite him as a discussant.
So the participant can ask questions. Professor Giri will probably later. We're having network issues. If the participant has questions.
Ma'am, there is one question. What is your opinion on caste atrocities in India?
See, in my opinion, I can talk about atrocities on poor people, on women, on children, on your transgender, but not about caste because it doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. The second answer to your question is, see, caste is not a national phenomenon. It's a localized phenomenon. So if you ask caste atrocities, if I say, for the sake of the argument, I say some caste exists, some localities, then you have to give me the localities and what kind of atrocities. Or if you want to understand atrocities theoretically as part of sociological imagination of every sociologist, then we have to talk about transgenders, we have to talk about poor people first. We don't discuss atrocities on poor people. I mean, this is very interesting still in India after 75 years. That sort of depresses me as a sociologist or a student of sociology. Okay,
Miniti Pradhan.
There was
Miniti Pradhan ji, please ask your question.
Hello. Yeah, actually, I am not able to some network issue and I'm not able to hear properly. So I'm not very thorough with the things. So today I will not be asking any question. Thank you.
Thank you.
What happened to other people? I could see 40 people.
Ma'am, why it is very sensitive in India? Caste, the word itself is a very sensitive.
Not sensitive. They have made it sensitive. Deliberately. Especially the politics in India and those politics who plays football with caste. So naturally they are very sensitive. How can it be more sensitive than rape, than acid attacks?
Yeah, ma'am.
Having no meal, than walking mile after mile in a lockdown and dying in the street. We don't talk about those things. See, we have a tendency to talk about false issues so that we also get into the false discussion and create false reality and be very satisfied as so-called sociologists with false reality. Neglecting India's real problems. I mean, is caste a real problem? If there is one, you have to define them. As I said, not me. It was M.N. Silva, the grandfather of the caste analysis, said that it's not a one in his sort of later writing. He said, criticizing Kumar, that I am sorry that I have overemphasized the Brahminican model, and these people doesn't know anything. The Brahminican model made the most model is Brahminican model. It's not a caste model. He thought Brahmins were full of power, and the Kshatriyas, the kings were actually not that powerful. Is there any other anybody in the middle? And women, it doesn't matter. I mean, history hasn't been written yet because there has been no history on women. What the women were, they were not all suspended in the middle. They were there. What the hell they were doing? The women of the upper class, the women of the middle class, the women of the laboring classes. Other than reproducing what they're doing, we will have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Can I read out, ma'am?
Yeah, sure, go ahead. This is static noise.
Yeah. Is there any caste untouchability in India now?
The person who is asking actually has to tell me that what.
Ma'am, this is Aniket, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Aniket, go ahead. What do you mean? Are you the question you are making?
No, I haven't given this question, and actually, I'm appalled by these questions which I'm seeing on the
Yeah, I'm also
forum
appalled
here.
by the question, rape of lower
So
caste.
that's why I wanted to jump in and make a quick comment. Uh, so see, what I think with there is a a deep lack of understanding about caste and its impact, the way it roots into very regional, traditional, and parochial sense. But the point is that the kind of society we live in today, nothing is parochial and local anymore. So we all are in some ways connected or interconnected to various realities from near and far. So the local parochial issues which emerges from the caste sentiments and caste associationalism and the various, the issues really rooted into the casteism as per se, in terms of segregation, in terms of ostracization. These are not just, so one has to go at the root of this.
Because you see, in feudal Europe, after France conquered England, the Saxon nobles were not allowed to sit with the French nobles. There were layers of tables in terms of each.
Absolutely.
So that, I mean, if anybody reads the caste in terms of the 1938 book, which actually produced much earlier and translated also, we don't read those things. See,
But most importantly, what I want to encourage that people asking questions on untouchability and the atrocities, I would encourage everybody to go through 1915 essay by Ambedkar, Caste, Genesis, Organism, and its Mechanism, I think. So this is where I begin, and I would encourage everyone else to go there. And so that might be a beginning which...
In order to understand Ambedkar, you have to understand at that point the historical social context of which Ambedkar is writing. You cannot analyze anybody for that matter.
Absolutely.
Unless you analyze the social cultural economy, that is sociology. I mean, I would like to ask the person who have asked this question, what do you mean by lower caste? And what do you mean by upper caste? These are very general, I wouldn't say illiterate, but general commonsensical words. Should not be used by sociologists or social sociology. Lower caste and upper caste. What is that? Can you tell me lower caste, by lower caste what you mean? Then let me tell you this, that your so-called upper caste, I don't know who they are, actually you mean rich people. Actually you mean the class, actually not caste. Those women are also actually raped by a lot of lower income group. Jyoti Singh was raped by 6 people. Jyoti Singh, who was studying Western, was 2012 famous rape, Nivedita, was raped by, there was one Dolit, when she did caste. Nobody wanted to talk about it because it was a rape of the woman. So you have to understand the rape actually camouflages what you are actually trying to unfold.
Ma'am, one more question.
How do you move up, down? See,
Caste system.
I cannot move up the up or down of the caste system because there is none. Which caste system? In Bengal, in Kolkata, South Kolkata, or in Nadia, or in Malda, or in Purulia, or in Jharkhand, or in
Karnataka.
or in Haryana, or in Punjab, or in Kerala, or in Pondicherry. Where do we go up and down? I do not understand these questions and coming up. This is like copying and pasting. What was wrong at some point in time, and it get copied and pasted every time. So, may I ask the definition of the caste system? No, you don't ask everyone, ask the speaker. Not everyone is going to answer to your question. So ask the speaker. I'm ready to understand and respond to your question if I can understand. What is the up-down caste system? I mean, how many ladders are there? That is what I know the ladders of intersections of inequality. For example, gender, for example, economic location, for example, cultural value, for example, social uh, environment, and I have no idea about what you're talking about. Yes, somebody else has a question. Ruchika, do you have a question?
I think we are also running out of the time.
Okay.
So, yes. One question is: can more and more intercaste marriage can demolish caste system?
Let at least
Demolish caste.
can
Yes, he's asking about
Intercaste marriages.
yes, intercaste marriage. Which Ambedkar also highlighted one of the revolutionary thing which can transform society.
that which has been legal in our constitution. Article 14, Article 15, Article 19 have made equality and relationship of equality between citizens, irrespective of race, gender, caste, creed. So yes, in one word, it's yes. And even if you do marry according to Special Marriage Act, you are not caste. Now, if you marry the Hindu Marriage Act, but caste is not asked because Hindu Marriage Act cannot ask because of the Constitution. See, Constitution is the highest body. You cannot violate the Constitution. So this question you can ask that if there is a caste system in a locality, can they marry each other? Can I throw a bad question to you also? That interreligious marriages take place without trouble. Look at the physics this year, 2020. Look at Bengal's incident in 2008. One Hindu girl married a Christian girl under Special Marriage Act, 1955, which all of us are endowed with, empowered with by Indian Constitution and the laws. So if you say intercaste marriages, I will ask also I hope you are not between caste and religion, like Maxwell. Maxwell said without caste there is no Hindu. So I hope you are not confusing all this. Intercaste marriage makes sense because there is no intercaste situation exists. Now, if you say that, can one guy belonging to X caste in X locality marry other? That will depend on the locality. Like Khap Panchayat, Haryana and Punjab. They don't allow anybody to marry unless they approve. And this question has to be asked locally. I think you're missing a point that it is not an all Indian phenomenon because you cannot give it. See, all of you are asking me, look at this. Let me point out this. All of you are still asking me questions in terms of caste without defining caste. You're not, you want to use still the Portuguese word and British French translation. Why don't you use Gorno, which is our indigenous word at least? That can this Gorno marry the other Gorno? See, I actually do not know what my Gorno is. Because Gorno is occupation if you read there. There is no indigenous document where you can get that you cannot own a land because you are sure. Tell me the name of the indigenous documents, when they don't give me the chotas, the notebooks of those you have written and copied for British documents. But I'm actually lodging a very serious criticism of Indian sociologists, students, researchers not reading indigenous books. Even you can read the translation. Holbrook had excellent translation in 1800, 300 years back. So you are not actually doing that. You're still asking this. So, okay, in the title,
Hello.
Their occupations automatically explain the root of so-called. No, it doesn't. Because it is occupation. What is Visti? And what is Vangi to this locality? In Bengal, Visti is the person who gives water. So there has nothing to do with it. He is a poor person who gives water. We do not find casteism has anything to do with. No, caste has nothing to do with religion because we don't have a religion either. We are pluralistic. We have those, we have Lokayats, we have Vaishnavas. There is no Hinduism. Who is the Hindu god here that we call in Greece? The famous Khap Panchat. Yeah, I refer to the Khap Panchat because Khap Panchat are what? Feudal elders who even prevented marriage in feudal Europe. So suddenly that is not caste and this is caste. What is Vasti and Visti and Vengi? Visti I know, Vengi I do not know. It's a new local word to me. If anybody knows, please tell me. Because see, this again you are picking up occupation. That one occupation cannot marry another occupation. Our constitution, our indigenous documents, etc. See, indigenous documents talks about privileges. That is called dowry. That is called freedom. And that is called patriarchy, not caste. I mean, do you think that a Hindu girl who would have married Shah Rukh Khan, which has happened, none of them are dead, either, because he faced some trouble in the beginning because he was married a Hindu girl, and the Hindu girl, though he was also married. Stuff. You don't think about this, that we ideologize Shah Rukh and Gauri like gods and goddesses. Lakshmi and Narayan almost to different gods. And that's an interreligious marriage. Shah Rukh is rich, so is Gauri. How can you tell? Go out to this people, you will find himself, and somebody will actually object. But don't you think the objection is based on other things? How many people will give their daughters to a chama? And what is chama?
Thank you so much, madam. Very, very engaging. And you really...
Randhir, I'll just do one sentence. See, this is one of the very, very important issues we still talk about. We write books, articles, without thinking and reading. So, I mean, I chose this topic deliberately through this forum. Tell people with folded hands. If you like, love your motherland and you have any dedication, please know the history of the motherland and how to do it. Not in the hands of the still colonial masters and be culturally dominated. See, they have taken yoga. Europe has a health movement of Indian health foods. And we are eating pizza of second rate. Okay, Randhir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's too much. Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Yeah, ma'am, it was very informative. I thank from bottom of my heart.
really, our master student
Very
really enjoyed.
informative and very enlightening. And the way you deliberate the speech, it's very, very nice, ma'am. Very happy to listen.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I hope
we have to also inculcate, a kind of critical.
I hope the students and scholars, at least not the, sociologists who have already got jobs, but the students and scholars.
So thank you so much, madam. Thank
They're
you
very
so much,
fortunate.
everybody. Thank you, everybody, for having very engaging dialogue and discussion.
Yeah. Ma'am's involvement, no, it is really inspiring. And it made me listen. Us together, I don't get bored. You are full of treasures of knowledge, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.